Do you think the league will ever do anything like this again? Is this a one-time thing?
I think they're hoping to do this every year. It's unprecedented in how it all worked out, Bill. So when they first thought of this Christmas Day extravaganza, they were like, we'll have 2 games and we'll give it to a high bidder. Netflix got involved, obviously, and gave a lot of money. And it was like, all right, we know we have a Wednesday game and they're going to be, premier teams because Netflix is paying top dollar. But how do we account for player safety the best way we possibly can? Like, well, you can't play Sunday, then Wednesday. Let's make it Saturday, then Wednesday, which means now 4 of these teams in the AFC, who just so happen to be 4 of the top 7 teams, are playing 3 games in 11 days in late December. Unheard of. And the way it worked out, and we're recording this on Thursday, and it doesn't matter who wins tonight, but originally it was supposed to be Bengals versus Browns on Thursday Night Football, and Amazon has the ability to ask to flex out. And a month ago, they went to the league and said, can we flex out of Bengals Browns? That's a terrible game. Can we get out of that? And the league said, there's no game to really put there. The only option would be Chargers Broncos in LA, but we can't do it because of league bylaws. The Broncos have already played 1 road Thursday night game. And one of the major rules was you will never play 2 Thursday night road games. So they go to Sean Payton and they say, look, you're going to say no, but we're going to present it to you. And Peyton was like, fuck it, put us on Thursday night. We want to be on prime time. We want to go into that building. I want to play them on a Thursday night. Now, the result of all that a month later is 6 of the top 7 teams in the AFC are going to be playing 2 games on 5 days rest, and 4 of the top 6 teams in the AFC are going to be playing 3 games on 11 days rest. Meanwhile, there's a team up there in Western New York, the Buffalo Bills, who play the Patriots on a Sunday, the Jets on a Sunday, and the Patriots again on a Sunday, and already looking at that playoff run. 2 games.
Well, and then it works out for the Broncos because he's like, yeah, fuck it, let's go. We'll go right in. And meanwhile, the Chargers are all banged up.
Yeah.
So you're giving them 3 less days to heal, which I thought probably was an unintended consequence. Yeah, over and over again, it just seems like everything's working out great for the Bills.
It worked out really
I don't know how they
well
pulled it off, but
2 games.
KC, the whole Mahomes goes down. Then Netflix is worried about their Wednesday game. But then Mahomes, I heard Raheem say this on the Ringer Gambling Show today, where Mahomes is like LeBron, where he gets these injuries and it seems like he's going to be out for 6 weeks. And then he's fine 2 days later. He's just one of those guys.
Yeah, I think he's going to play. I think he's going to play Saturday against Texans.
You know why we know he's going to play? Because the line moved 6 points.
Did it really? All right,
yeah.
That's been the word out of that place all week, that the 1 seed is very important to them. They're not going to fake it and say, well, Mahomes is safety. Like, they want that 1 seed and they want that week off. And I've spoken to multiple sources in that building that, if Pat says he can go, he's going to go. He has earned that from the coaching staff, and they're not looking to protect him physically. I remember a couple of years back in the divisional round against Trevor Lawrence, he bangs up the ankle. Everyone's worried. What's he going to do? He doesn't finish the game, but then he does play against the Bengals in the AFC Championship game, and he runs for that first down, and he just hobbled through it, but he got through it. I thought we might get a very Carson Wentz Christmas. I think the NFL and Netflix would not have been thrilled. I don't know if Beyonce and Mariah Carey and the rest would have enjoyed it. Bert Kreischer and Nate Bargatze and the rest. I don't know. But in this case, it looks like you're getting Mahomes and you're going to get all the fixins with it. And it's going to be Chiefs versus Steelers with Mahomes. And the stakes couldn't be higher because
there's one other stake beyond the 1 seed and all that stuff. It's Mahomes kind of lost his spot in line this season. And now he's turned into this, well, when the playoffs come, he's going to turn it on. But I think from an entertainment standpoint and from, honestly, a ceiling standpoint, Allen and Lamar Jackson have just been better. Even Burrow's been more fun to watch. And Mahomes is just grinding these games out. It always looks like he has 7 injuries. And he's having one of those seasons you have when you're 37, but he's still in his 20s. Yeah. And he's played, a lot more games than probably some other quarterbacks the last few years. And the weapons have been in and out. The tackle situation has been dicey. I get it, but it's just interesting. Like, I just think Allen and Lamar have blown him out of the water during this regular season. But you also feel like we're going to get to the playoffs and Mahomes is probably going to yank it back.
And I think that's why the number 1 seed is so important. Give us an advantage. Give us something over these teams. Remember, the Bills beat them head to head. So if they were to lose 2 of the next 3 games, then they succumb and they have to go on the road, and they don't want to do that. They want the 1 seed. They want the week off. They think it's important. The offensive line has been a disaster, and they put DJ Humphries in there for 1 game. He lasted 1 game, and then Joe Thuney, guard, is playing left tackle for a team that's the 1 seed and 13-1. It's pretty
not
incredible.
A great sign.
And the numbers weren't crazy sack-wise, but he was under pressure the entire game last week against Cleveland. And you look at what Houston's bringing this weekend, and between Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, they have the 2nd most sacks in the NFL. That's in Christmas. You have this one on Saturday. Then on Christmas, you think TJ Watt's going to play. You assume Cam Hayward and all those guys are out there. Like, he's going up against 2 of the best defensive front sevens in the league over the next 2 weeks. If they win both of those games, though, they get a bye and they can rest week 18 and the next week during the wildcard round.
So I did a thing on Sunday with Sal about the year Allen's having and how actually it's a bad sign for Buffalo's Super Bowl hopes when you have these teams with the awesome quarterback having the MVP year combined with a defense that can't really stop anybody. The signs are bad. Like,
you went through the list, I heard.
Yeah, I went through it just in general. But then this week, Aaron Schatz had a tweet.
What's he got?
About basically in the last 30 years, 11 teams went 9-5 and then made the Super Bowl. And the reason he did it was because for DVOA, which has been an essential part of kind of studying, following football most of the century, the Ravens are 9-5. They're shoved aside a little bit right now, I think, especially as Buffalo's gotten the thing. But 11 out of 30 teams have made the Super Bowl, and some good teams like 2016 Atlanta was 9-5. The 2002 Raiders, you can go on down the line. 2023 KC last year. And I don't know. The fact that they're number 1 in DVOA and not being talked about, they have this Pittsburgh game coming up this weekend. They're 6.5-point favorites against Tomlin and the Steelers when Lamar has struggled against them, for his whole career, basically. But I do wonder if they're starting to get a little sleepy. Like, I was looking at their title odds, their AFC odds, and maybe they're the undervalued team because everyone's on Green Bay now in the NFC. That was I was a week late on that one. Maybe it's Baltimore in the AFC. What are your Baltimore thoughts?
I love Baltimore this year. I think they got the perfect bye week. They needed it more than ever. They got it. They come out. They beat up on the Giants last week where Lamar throws 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And now they're getting healthy. And look, the 8 of 9, it's real. And, the last Ravens quarterback to beat the Steelers was Snoop Huntley. And
wow,
a lot of those games were decided by 1 score or less. And the Steelers just found a way at the end. Even the last time they played, you remember that Peyton Wilson interception on the sideline with Justice Hill? They still had a chance at the end with the 2-point conversion, but there was so much confusion. Lamar afterwards is furious on the sideline. And it's like, all right, well, if you can't beat them in close games, like, how do we have our faith in the Ravens? I think since that game, they have gotten healthier. And I think the bye week was important. What I think is going to be very interesting on Sunday, which, I mean, you're talking about the greatest sports viewing day if you're a football fan ever, is this Saturday. I mean, it's right there smack dab in the middle, 4:30 Eastern. You got Brady and Burkhardt on the call. Justin Tucker is going to have to make a kick here. And Justin Tucker is going to have to come through. And last week he made one, and they had a lot of field goals, and they had a lot of touchdowns, and it was fine. But, like, Justin Tucker is going to have to make a kick or two in some inclement weather against the Steelers. And I think it's important that Justin Tucker gets right because that's how they play football. And especially against the Steelers team, it's always a 1-score game.
Going against the guy who now has the Justin Tucker championship belt.
He's got the belt.
Chris Boswell, headed for 200 fantasy points. Yeah, so Baltimore's first in offense. Pittsburgh's 7th in defense for DVOA. And yet Pittsburgh got their asses kicked by Philly last week. And I thought it was a more alarming game than a usual loss because they lost in ways that I just weren't on my bingo card. Like them just getting manhandled, them giving up a 22-play drive to basically finish the game. But if you're a Steelers fan, you look at it and you go, well, we got screwed on that penalty where there was clear video after of the guy, Darius Slay punching our guy.
Darnell Washington, yeah.
And then they're driving down. It seems like they're going to maybe tie the game and Najee fumbles. And it's like, we're a little closer there than you thought. Yeah. I thought they got pushed around and manhandled and beaten up. And now they're heading into these next 2 games, Saturday, Wednesday. This just feels like this all flipped at the worst possible time. What are your Pittsburgh feelings?
I think your instincts are right that they have dominated in the trenches and Russell has not made mistakes. And like in this game, Cooper DeJean has the fumble. Hurts makes the early mistake. You're like, okay, here come the Steelers. And then they just couldn't close that gap. And then, like you said, in real time, it felt like 2 hours at the end of the game. It was just, and like, it was such a long drive that like Brady and Burkhardt are doing banter about Belichick during it. Like,
Right.
They just, like,
They're
you snuck in
college.
you snuck in like empty the bag. We have to find something to talk about because this game isn't in hand right now. That's worrisome if you're the Steelers, because their whole mantra has been, keep the game close. Russell will make a play at the end and we'll run the ball down your throats and we'll stop you on defense. And they couldn't do that against a more physical team in Philadelphia. But there is a mental edge here. Like, Tomlin's coming into this thing like, we've won 8 of 9 we've won games with everyone from Duck Hodges to Mason Rudolph to whoever. Like, we can beat the Ravens. We have no fear going into this building. 2 games.
Yeah, I part of me wonders, and I've been riding them the whole time. Part of me wonders if they outkicked their coverage a little bit this season, just in general. You look back at some of the games they won, some of the schedule stuff. Their most impressive win was probably that first Baltimore game, just for really pulling it out and seeing it. But that it just shouldn't matter this much that George Pickens is hurt. I like George Pickens.
He's their biggest threat, though.
But
like,
I know, but it shouldn't be just an absolute deal breaker to be able to, because then they're running the ball all the time, but they're running it for 3 yards a carry because everyone they're playing knows they have to run the ball. Because my thought is, like, I wonder if this is a Lamar. Oh, I can't beat Pittsburgh.
No doubt.
Here we go. And he looks great. Pittsburgh loses again. And it's like, holy shit, Pittsburgh's in attack. I'm trying to think of whatever narrative comes out of that game. And that feels like a likely narrative to me.
And then it's a quick turnaround because 4 days later, Lamar's got to go play the Texans. It's like this crazy round robin. But Kyle Brandt and I on Good Morning Football, we always, talk about the most valuable player industry complex. Like, we made this thing, like, starting in week 2, it's like, who's the MVP? Who's the MVP? And I put it to bed last week, maybe a little premature. And I was like, Josh Allen's done. Like, it's over. Like, let's not just do this for the sake of a segment. And the amount of feedback I got from people around the league, not fans, being like, slow down. Lamar's got better numbers, and Lamar's games are all showcase games over the next few weeks. So on Saturday, when everyone's watching, Lamar's going to be able to have that showcase game. And then on Wednesday, on Christmas, when everybody's watching Christmas afternoon, Lamar can have that showcase game. And by the end of it, we're not going to see Josh Allen on national television for the last month of the season. And you might say, well, who gives a shit about national TV? The people who vote are writers who are usually in press boxes and just looking at box scores afterwards. But on Christmas Day and on a Saturday, they will be watching. And if enough hysteria gets going and Lamar can finish this thing out, it is not over yet. Lamar could steal this and get his 3rd MVP.
On FanDuel right now, Allen's 9-1, basically. He's a 9-1 favorite. And Lamar is plus 650. And that feels out of whack to me because Lamar having an awesome game against Pittsburgh. And then what you said, everything else he's doing is going to be like major games. Josh is going to be on like my top right multi-view for the Pats Bills game. And that's about it. Like, he's just going to be in witness protection. With all that said, there is another scenario where Lamar sucks against Pittsburgh again, and Pittsburgh wins 18-16, and Justin Tucker misses a couple field goals. The whole thing. Speaking of awards, I wanted to ask you this.
Yeah,
I hate when people do interviews and they say, "I wanted to ask you this." I should just ask you. My bad. I'm still trying to get better at this.
Forgive me. Now you'll get there.
Coach of the year.
2 games. Do
you know who the favorite is? Have you looked at this?
I haven't. I would imagine, I'm going to give it to you, 12-2, Kevin O'Connell is probably the favorite right now.
So he's the only one with minus odds. He's minus 190. Dan Campbell dropped a little bit because his entire team got hurt. Apparently that was his fault.
but hell of a locker room speech in an interview on 97-1 in Detroit.
I guess the pregame speeches only go so far. Sean Payton 6-1. Dan Quinn 10-1. Tomlin 15-1. McDermott 30-1. And then you have to press the see rest of the bets link to go on FanDuel to go to Sean McDermott 30-1, Sirianni, Bowles.
Where's Andy Reid?
There's Andy Reid at 35-1. So
13-1.
Is this like a Belichick thing? He's not allowed to win?
Yeah, he's done. He's 3 wins away from 300 wins in his career, and no one has even mentioned that. They're 13-1. All they do is win.
How is he not the number 2 guy to be able to bet? I just don't understand.
He succumbed any respect for any of that, and then we'll see him in January. Like, it is. It is amazing how this award is given out. Usually it's a first-year guy who gets his team into the playoffs, and it's like a quick bump. And we've seen that from McVay and from Matt Nagy and from Stefanski.
It could have been Harbaugh this year if they'd gone like
Harbaugh.
11-5 or 11-6.
Brian Dable was that. This year, I think the O'Connell thing is happening because people are just like, they keep on winning. And if you look at their team, it's a bunch of castaways.
Let's roll, baby. Welcome in. Happy Football Sunday. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Welcome into the Ringer Sunday pregame right here on FanDuel TV and YouTube TV as the Ringer Wise guys are ready to rock to break down all the action for Week 16 on this very frigid Sunday in New York City, at least where I'm at. I know some of the boys are in some sunshine. Let's welcome in the distracted Joe House, Cousin Sal, Raheem Palmer in Las Vegas. Merry Christmas, fellas. Happy holidays, one and all. Sal, we had a crazy sports day on Saturday. You had 3 college football playoff games. You had 2 NFL games. And the year of the favorite continues. If you just threw in that money line parlay from the Notre Dame game on Friday all the way through Saturday night, hey, it's as easy as it gets, all right?
And by the way, I loved every second of it. I know everyone hated on the first round of the college football playoffs because they'd rather be what? Without it, they'd be watching the Independence Bowl on December 21st. No, I don't care. I'm a moneyline favorite guy. Parlay, so is Joe House. Like you said, JJ, if you take it back to Friday, that's 6-0 with the football games in a moneyline favorite parlay. I'll tell you what, the wife might actually get a Christmas gift that retails for more than $65 this year. That's how good it was.
Wow, look at Sal in the Christmas holiday spirit because the favorites took care of him on this particular weekend. House, I know you have been a man who has been rather loyal to the Pittsburgh Steelers throughout this 2024 season. It was a big-time bounce-back game for the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar finally goes and takes down the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know I was all over that on East Coast bias. It's nice to actually get a Ravens-Steeler game right for a change. Line was rather telling. The fact that you were seeing some 6.5s, even some 7s in the market, knowing how close Ravens and Steelers traditionally normally is. So, Joe House, did that Saturday game tell you more about where the Ravens are at or where the Steelers are at going into the final 2 weeks?
The answer is yes to both. I think we learned just a little bit more about both teams. This is the version of the Ravens that everybody had winning the AFC North and potentially making a run to the Super Bowl again. And this offense is unstoppable. It is why I felt comfortable laying this 6.5 yesterday. No issue, even though historically the Steelers and Ravens have played close games. This was a rare instance where, especially with Pittsburgh, diminished by George Pickens being out. They still got explosive against that Ravens secondary, but I think both teams showed us something. The Steelers are just in the thick of that slog of the schedule. When we sat at the beginning of the year and said, how is the Steelers team going to manage the end of the year? They won all their games early. They did a great job with that, but they're in the thick of it right now, JJ.
Raheem, the team that the Steelers will be playing on Christmas Day, if you bet them on Saturday, you got yourself a nice little discount with the Kansas City Chiefs, who continue to find ways to win. They did so against the Houston Texans. What else is new, Dream?
I mean, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, they're like Floyd Mayweather. They're like Michael Jordan. They're inevitable. And at some point in time, I think people need to realize that it doesn't make sense to bet against this team to they're not going to lose. So regardless of how well the Ravens are playing, regardless of how well Josh Allen is playing, and mind you, that Bills defense is pretty trash. I trust Mahomes over everybody.
You might like a certain gift that a panelist may be giving you for our Secret Santa. That's right. We have a Secret Santa coming up on this festive edition of the Ringer Sunday pregame. We will have our family meal for Week 16, which will obviously have a holiday theme. Stephen Ruiz is going to join us. Harry the Elf is going to join us. So we have a loaded show. Guys, it's time. Fire it up. Let's wisen up. We begin with Cousin Sal, who has run away with the title this year. You know, like you quench playoff berths and division, Sal, and all that stuff. We should have the X, the Y, the Z basically attached to your name. I know. We'll see if you can follow it up come postseason. So that's going to be the challenge really for you. But you have 3 more weeks of regular season action, and you're going down to South Florida for this week's Lazarus Wager.
Yes, 13-2. I don't want to brag. I don't want to come off as a jerk here. It's Christmas season. I'm a lucky guy with some of these bets. I'm lucky to be with you fine gents every week. But, JJ, I didn't love a lot on the board this week, and I'm taking a total in your game. Yes, you're right. South Florida, Miami, San Francisco. I'm going over 44.5. Now, this opened as high as 48.5 and has dropped between 44 and 45. I think this is a get-right day for both offenses here. They wouldn't have given this game to Nance and Romo if there wasn't going to be some scoring. I'm a conspiracy theorist in that regard. But honestly, JJ, Tua has started 2 games after Miami scored under 20 points. He came back with a 32-point game and a 27-point game, all right? 49ers are 25th on 3rd down. That's where your Dolphins have trouble. I don't have to tell you. That's where you've struggled. I think you get right there. And on the other side, Purdy's had some rest. He played last Thursday. There's talk about what his contract is going to look like. Kyle Shanahan, has he lost it? Have they figured out his schemes? I think the 49ers score. Debo doesn't drop everything in sight. Miami 5-2 to the over in their home game. San Francisco 4 of the last 5 have gone over against AFC East. 29-24 final. JJ, who wins? Who cares? I'm going over. Oh, you care. You're a Dolphins fan.
I guess, even though I'm grasping at straws to try to find the mathematical possibilities that Miami can find their way to the playoffs. There's a certain team that's also trying to find their way to the playoffs in the AFC, and I want to see them in the postseason. No, it's not the Dolphins, because I know losing to the Bills and the Chiefs is just going to cause me misery when I see the Wise Guys wildcard weekend. I want some good football. The Cincinnati Bengals, Joe House, have a chance if things go a certain way, and that, my friend, is where you're taking your wise wagers. So let's hear.
Yeah, JJ, I think all of us have an interest in Cincinnati today. It was one of the hardest slates to come up with something good on. But look, we're going to keep this one as straightforward as possible. It's a very easy little parlay. Cincinnati to win by a touchdown on the alt spread, -6.5. Cincinnati to score 28 points. I want to be in business with the Cincinnati Bengals this week. That Broncos loss on Thursday night opened the door a crack. I think the Bengals are ready to jump in. The Cleveland Browns have signaled their intentions. They are starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson at quarterback. He is second to last of 144 quarterbacks in the last 5 years in EPA per play. The Browns offense is decimated at every other position group, and we know what Joe Burrow can do against man coverage, single high safety. The Browns play a ton of that. Burrow has cooked against that kind of a scheme his entire career. The Browns don't get any pressure with Zadarius Smith off to the Lions, and we're going to look for some T. Higgins to really get going here. The technicals, Bengals won by a touchdown the first time these teams met. Every win the Bengals have this season, there aren't many of them, at least 7 points, and the Bengals have scored at least 27 in 6 straight games and 34 or more in 4 of them. It's a Bengals day, baby.
And that line has skyrocketed. So I like the way you're trying to play it, get a little bit of a discount, bank on some points, and we go from there. Dream, what do you have, sir, for week number 16?
I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -3.5. Yes, it's time to sell high on my beloved Dallas Cowboys. I mean, look, the last 4 weeks, they played the Commanders, Giants, Bengals, and Panthers. The Panthers and the Giants are 2 of the worst power-rated teams in the NFL. And if you look at the Bengals and the Commanders, they have bottom 10 defenses. And, Rico Dotto, he was able to get off last week against the Carolina Panthers. That's not happening against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Vita Vea. So I really like Buccaneers in this spot. And one of the things you got to realize is that this Buccaneers offense is rolling. Baker Mayfield, I mean, he's leading them to a top 5 offense per success rate and EPA per play. And I'm not sure the Cowboys are going to be able to keep up with that. You look at Cooper Rush, people are saying he's playing very well, but he's dead last in EPA per play since week 9 and 15th among qualifying quarterbacks. So I don't think the Cowboys are going to be able to keep up. You put them in a negative game script against this Buccaneers team, and the Buccaneers will take them into the deep waters and drown them. I like the Bucs -3.5, but honestly, you could sell points on this. I think the Buccaneers win this by a touchdown or more.
I was dumb enough to fade Baker Mayfield last Sunday against the Los Angeles Chargers. That's my dude. I'm right there with you, Raheem. I think it's a great spot for Tampa Bay. I think you're getting a discounted price with the Cowboys' renaissance over the last few weeks. Speaking of discounts, we're all looking for that in the holiday season. There is a discount in East Rutherford, New Jersey, that I am all over today, and that is the Los Angeles Rams, who are only laying a field goal against the New York Jets. All of a sudden now the national narrative is Aaron Rodgers has figured it out. The Jets offense has figured it out. Can I remind everybody the Jets took on Miami 2 weeks ago, who's not any good, warm weather climate. They played the Jacksonville Jaguars last week, and let's not forget they almost lost to Mac Jones, for goodness sakes. I'm getting Sean McVay, who is a closer in the month of December. He is 14-2 in his last 16 December games. The Jet defense stinks. It is 10 degrees. What is the motivation for a poorly coached Jet team that, played okay against Miami, beat Jacksonville? Now all of a sudden everybody's lining up saying, oh, it's the sharp play of the week. I'm on the Jets. No. Let's not overthink this. I've done that way too often on these wise wagers. If the Jets go and beat the Los Angeles Rams, I'll tip my cap and say, you know what? Who's your daddy? That's what I'll say on this particular Sunday. I'm going with my guy, Sean McVay, the closer in December, a team that needs the game a lot more. I don't care how stinky this may be. Rams laying 3 against that sad Jet team.
JJ, you should have to do more than tip your cap. And by the way, you said if Travis Kelce didn't get over 50 yards or something, Raheem, you were right there with me. He said he was going to come up with a song a la Taylor Swift about Travis Kelce screwing him on prop bets. We need to see that.
Definitely haven't.
So how about this? I need to get in the lab. I got to work with Taylor and his songwriting team. What is it, Jack Antonoff? By our show on Wildcard Weekend, I'll put together a little melody for you.
Oh, I love it. I'm a
man of honor. I'm a man of my word. And we know the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be playing in the postseason. So that song won't necessarily age. Now, we go from our wise wagers. Sal, you know this guy very well. He's a part of your Against All Odds crew, but he's also in the holiday spirit. And he might be working with Santa right now as we speak on some toys for all the little boys and all the little girls out there. Harry the Elf, you got a guest pick for us. Let's hear it, buddy.
What's up, wise guys? It's Harry here. Merry Christmas. And listen, I got a present for you. George Kittle of the San Francisco 49ers, over 65.5 yards, receiving at -114 2 weeks ago. He had his best game of the season where he had 151 against Chicago. And Miami's defense, the Dolphins are done after last week against the Texans. Give me George Kittle, over 65.5 yards on Sunday for the Niners at -114. Merry Christmas, everybody.
A Merry Christmas, Harry. Very much appreciated. Wow. You know, Sal, I think this obviously correlates to your overplay, but the Miami Dolphins have struggled mightily with the tight end all year. Brock Purdy needs somebody to throw the football to. I like that play from our buddy Harry.
I'm second guessing everything now. You know, I don't even know what I was looking at. I've never done ayahuasca, but I imagine this is what it's like, staring at an obese elf yelling about player props. It's very early in the AM here in LA. I might not have been able to look at that just right, but yeah, I guess it correlates.
Will the Parlay Kid and Brother Bribe be dressing as elves? No, they opt out of that.
No, they just stare in amazement like the rest of us do at Harry the Elf. Good Lord.
Hey, listen, it's tough not to be staring in amazement at our guy Harry. Okay, we go from our elf to Rizzo the Rat. No, I was watching Muppets Christmas Carol last night after the Ohio State game. It's time to sniff them out, the fishiest of the fishy. Rat lines. Let's get made for Week 16. Gentlemen, I'm starting the proceedings on this one. San Francisco and Miami is my rat line of the week because I have no desire to bet either one of these teams. What's the deal for the Miami Dolphins? Is Teron Armstead going to play? Is right tackle Kendall Lamb going to play? I know Jalen Waddle is not going to be out there, but then I look at the San Francisco 49ers. No Trent Williams. Disaster. What's the deal with Nick Bosa? Is he going to play a ton? There's just too much uncertainty when it comes to motivation for San Francisco, when it comes to motivation for Miami. I know they're both mathematically alive, but we're talking about two of the most disappointing teams in 2024. This is a full-fledged stay away for your boy. I am not going anywhere near San Francisco and Miami. stay away from me. Raheem, I look at you. Time for your rat line.
I'm going with the Colts -3.5 hosting the Tennessee Titans. Last week, we were on the Colts for our money line underdog play, and they outgained the Broncos 310 to 193, and they gave the Broncos touchdown drives of 15, 35 yards, and a 50-yard fumble return. So I cannot trust the Indianapolis Colts to lay points with this team. Anthony Richardson, he's not great from a down-and-down perspective. We spoke about that all year. But then, you look at some of the sharps, they're going to be on the Tennessee Titans because they got to upgrade at quarterback with Mason Rudolph. But I want to remind everybody, this Titans team is a league worst, 2-12 against the spread. So that's what you're betting on. And then if you look at the Titans, they stink on special teams. How can you bet on this team when they just do stupid stuff every week? This is a complete stay away, a complete rat.
I may have some thoughts on the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts a little bit later on in the show, so you may want to stay tuned for that. And I understand how crummy and how pathetic and how hapless the Titans have been all year. Joe House, what are we thinking for our rat line?
I'm looking at the Detroit Lions laying 6.5 at the Chicago Bears. Please don't misunderstand. I love the Lions. This could be a rally, the troop spot for them with all the injuries they have on defense. But, man, the Bears play the Lions tough. We watched it on Thanksgiving. And this, remember, is Jared Goff outdoors. 30-degree temperatures, 15-mile-an-hour winds gusting up to 25 miles an hour. Big difference between Jared Goff indoors and outdoors. And really, this is a story about the Lions being decimated on defense, starting with the second half against these very Bears when the defense started visits to the hospital on the regular. The Lions defense has given up 99 points in 10 quarters. Teams have scored on 16 of 27 non-end of game or end of half drives. Teams have only punted 5 times on those 27 drives. Those are astronomical numbers. And I'm not here telling you that the Bears are going to, catch fire. They just have been a much better team at home. They are 5-1 against the spread at home, 2-0 against the spread as dogs. Is just the line. I'm fine with the Lions. Go ahead and taking care of business. 6.5 feels a tiny bit too rich.
I get the idea of snap. We got it a little too late there,
Wow.
Sal. I was waiting for it like 10 seconds early.
Hello, Santa. Great to hear from you.
Santa always making his presence felt the weekend before Christmas, and especially when it comes to what may happen and what may transpire in the household, no pun intended. House, in all seriousness, I get where you're coming from with that Lion-Bear game because 6.5, division game, the Lions are going to be teased and parlayed in every spot imaginable. My problem is, House, you saw the Bears on Monday Night Football. How can anybody want to go and bet the Bears in this spot? They stink, man. They're poorly coached. The offense and Caleb Williams, the bad habits are seeping through the roof, and the defense has regressed from where it was early in the year.
I agree on all of those points, which is exactly why you got to be careful. This is a scary situation, and my inclination.
I'm not scared. I'm going to have something to say about that game later on.
Oh, okay, Raheem. I like that. A lot of teases early on. It's like hints at what presents you're going to be getting under the Christmas tree come Tuesday, Wednesday. Sal, last but not least, what's your rat line?
Well, listen, I know where Joe House is coming from. I mean, we've benefited from these money line favorites for the last 48 hours, and now we're waiting for a team to drop the hammer on us. Is it the Lions? Maybe. Is it the Falcons? Another team that, JJ, if you watch Monday night, did not play well. They could have lost to the Raiders. So would anyone be surprised in this Falcons-Giants matchup, which is my rat line, if the Falcons lost outright or if they won by 40? I think it's a complete stay away. Now, they did the right thing. They're starting Penix in place of Cousins, who was throwing in slow motion. It was like every drop back was like a slow motion replay. They barely beat Vegas. And now, listen, now they're probably playing a team that is looking to lose, wondering who they're going to take, Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. But I think it's trouble either side. And let's listen to this about Penix. This is from Action. First career start in week 16. He becomes just what? I just got going. Hold on a second. What is that? Anyway, only a handful of rookies make a first start after week 10, and it doesn't look good. The Giants suck, JJ. You won't admit it because you're a true blue New Yorker, but they're not good. Stay away.
I will admit it. I mean, come on, Sal. I live in New York City, but we tell it like it is in New York City. And Look, the Giants are trying to lose. So to me, when I look at that game, and I know a lot of trends and a lot of stats are going to be against rookie quarterbacks making their first start, you want to bet the New York Giants? I mean, in all honesty, I don't know how anybody could be lining. Really, House? You're lining up to the window saying, I can't wait to bet the Giants in this game? I don't care how crummy the Falcons may be. I think Michael Penix is an upgrade over Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins stinks.
There's a segment on this show. I'll have my opportunity to talk about it.
I like it. I like it. The boys are dropping a lot of hints right now. This is good. This is good. I'll let this materialize, and hopefully it'll lead to great success for the wise guys later on in this show. Okay, guys, we're doing this a little early. We're trying to change up the recipe. We're trying to fire up something different as we get ready for the big Christmas meal on maybe Tuesday night. Maybe it's Wednesday. It's the family meal for Week 16. Let's get in the kitchen. Very hungry, very hungry, very hungry indeed. Joe House, I know you know a thing or two about food. Let's start the proceedings.
Oh, I get to go first. This is the Feast of Seven Fishes. What a week this is for all great eaters in America and worldwide. I mean, an Italian-American tradition. So we're going to look at Jauan Jennings, who's going to feast on the fishes. The San Francisco 49ers up against the Miami Dolphins. We're only looking at him getting over 61.5 receiving yards. The Miami defense, let's get real technical. They play some of the highest rates of too high coverage in the NFL, and they've done so at the third highest rate over the last month. This is where Jauan Jennings likes to cook. Second highest yards per route run in the NFL, and incredible separation numbers against this defensive scheme. 30% targets per route run against this too high. 61.5 is low. We love this number. It's an over.
You've seen a lot of receivers have success against that Miami Dolphins secondary. Go back 2 weeks ago, Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson for starters. I like the big day for a fellow JJ down in South Florida, which I know is music to our buddy cousin Sal's ears because he needs a whole lot of points in that game between the Dolphins and the Niners. Sal, you're looking at Joe House's quarterback for your contribution to the family meal, and it's a delectable prime rib.
Prime rib for a guy who's had trouble with his ribs and really hasn't been the same since he had that initial rib injury. But I still like Jaden Daniels over 19.5 completions. He is, first of all, a lock to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. At this point, he's minus 4,500. I got it at 9-1 back in August. This is House's meal ticket. Jaden Daniels, he's going to get 20 or more. He's done so in 4 of his last 5 games, averages 23 over that span. The Eagles have allowed quarterbacks, opponents 20-plus in 3 of the last 4 road games. Wouldn't this be a nice upset and a Christmas gift? Let's do it. Let's go 4 for 4 here in this family meal.
Well, I like the sound of that. So we get Jauan Jennings, we get Jaden Daniels. Raheem, your contribution to the family meal kind of ties into what you were doing with your wisest wager. Explain.
Yes, we're going with Bucky Irving over 61.5 rushing yards. I mean, this guy, he's been incredible this year. You look at the last 4 games that he's played, 117 yards, 152 yards, 88 yards, 73 yards, and he gets to take on a Cowboys defense which really can't stop the run dating back to last year. You look at the Cowboys, they rank 27th in opponent yards before contact on the ground, and the Bucs rank 7th in yards before contact. And if they're getting all these yards before contact, and we know Bucky Irving can break some tackles, he should be able to go over this easily. Bucky Irving over 61.5 yards. Let's cash this.
Last but not least, fellas, let's go to South Florida once again. A lot of love right now for this Niner Dolphin game. Now, I know I mentioned it's a rat line, but it doesn't mean it's a rat as far as player props are concerned. And I think our buddy cousin Sal is going to like this. The over in this game in the mid-40s. We like this game to go over. You know who's been going over a whole lot of props and a whole lot of totals and a whole lot of receiver yards and whatnot over the last 8 to 10 weeks? A guy by the name of Jonnu Smith, who has become one of Tua's favorite targets down in South Florida. He's become the safety valve, the security blanket. He's become, in many ways, the #1 receiving option. I know it sounds crazy. Tyreek Hill has been there. Jalen Waddle has been there. But there is now a new connection with Tua and Jonnu Smith. And without Jalen Waddle suiting up on Sunday and with Tyreek Hill being beat up with the wrist, I only need Jonnu Smith to go over 49.5 receiving yards. Sign me up. He's going to get the rock. Tua's got to throw the ball to somebody. Over 49.5 receiving yards. So Harry like George Kittle. I like Jonnu Smith. might want to parlay those two together. Speaking of a parlay, let's take a look at what our family meal will be for this week 16. Sal going with Jaden Daniels over 19.5 completions. I like it. Raheem, Bucky Irving over 62.5 rushing yards. Like it. Mr. House, Juwan Jennings over 61.5 receiving yards. And then last but not least, Jonas Smith over 49.5 receiving yards. Sal, this one, not as crazy a payout as we've given out in weeks past, 10-1, but I like it. I think this is the week, in the Christmas spirit, we bring home a family meal.
I'm going to bet it, and I'm going to bet our 4 wisest wagers. I think we got to hit on one of these. I feel some good mojo going into the holiday season. But, Raheem's got me thinking, and with our Cowboys, and now it's just bet against them. It's fine. We've seen enough. I know Cooper Rush, I think he's right about all of it. He's getting too many accolades for being really non-athletic in the pocket. This will be, I do the Guess the Lines podcast with Simmons right after this game. I can't imagine what would have to happen for me to be very upset. I've gotten to that point as a Cowboys fan. I'm now going to expect them to lose, so that'll be that. I don't want CD or anyone getting hurt, that's for sure. But I'm in a good place with the Cowboys. I feel like Raheem is as well.
Yeah, we're definitely in a good place. I mean, for me, I'm focusing on next year. I just want to be, I want to be a tough out for our divisional opponent. That's all I want to see. I want to see heart in those games. And I think we've shown heart the last 4 weeks. We beat the Carolina Panthers. We probably should have beat the Cincinnati Bengals and eliminated them from the postseason. So we're getting all that we could ask for. But next year is the year where we turn up.
That's right,
and
boys.
Guess
next
what?
Year.
You guys will get to turn up once again with Mike McCarthy as your head coach, who we all had dead to rights at the beginning of the year. I think Mike McCarthy's going to be back down in Dallas.
I heard they're signing Ralph Wiggum instead of McCarthy, but I don't know. It's in the works. Who
nice.
knows
Ralph Wiggum, Nelson Mutz, anything's possible. We got a lot more coming your way in this edition of the Ringer Sunday pregame. We'll have our underdogs, man's best bet, hell of a competition between Joe House, John Jastremski. We got SGPs to come, all that and more. And yeah, a little secret Santa. Oh, you never know what the guys might be getting. All that and more right here on FanDuel TV and YouTube TV. We're coming right back.
So big athletic article today about the Jets and the ownership and the Suns and EA ratings and Jerry Jeudy. This became an immediate, everybody texting everybody the same thing. It's on every NFL team's Reddit. It just became one of the stories of the year. So what made any of us think that this team was going to suddenly become functional? And is there any way out of this with this owner?
Yeah, that article dropped today, and it was like, I got, a lot of that stuff, like I can't discredit a lot of it that's in Diana's article with Mike Silver and Zach Rosenblatt. And like, look, when Woody took that UK ambassador job from President Trump in 2017, his sons Brick and Jack were 11-9. And then Woody comes back and his sons are suddenly, of high school and college age. And then you go to these Jets games and you see the sons pregame and they're like on the sidelines and they look cool. And they got the blazer on and they got the sunglasses on and they're walking the sidelines. And it's like this is a freshman at Harvard and a kid in boarding school, and their dad and mom own the New York Jets and they have all access to do, like, I don't spite the kids and I don't spite the owner, but what it is true. Like, these kids are around. And, I don't know if this will be breaking it, but like Joe Flacco was with the team 2 years ago. And Flacco was a good veteran in the locker room for Zach Wilson. They go and they get Rodgers. And like the plan was, let's get Rodgers. And like, I could tell you that ownership was like, I don't know if we want to go that direction. Like, let's go with Rodgers and let's go with Zach and let's figure out what else we do. Like, I don't want a big pay Joe. Then Joe Flacco goes on to win comeback player of the year. And you're like, and like little things like that where I know the owners, it's true. Like, I know that Woody was like, sometimes in the draft, like, will show displeasure if it's a pick he doesn't like. Like, that is fact. I've heard that from ex-employees, and that's a lot of this. There are a lot of ex-employees from the Jets right now.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Yeah. NFL fans, listen up. The final weeks of the regular season are here. Get NFL Sunday ticket to watch the race to the playoffs for only $49. That's right, only $49. Sign up now and catch every game, every Sunday. Terms and embargoes apply. Welcome back to the Ringer Sunday pregame. John Jastremski, Joe House, Cousin Sal, Raheem Palmer. Happy holidays, one and all. We'll have man's best bet. We'll have our Secret Santa contributions. We got SGP still to come. Guys, he doesn't want to be in his pajamas enjoying the show this week, which is fine. But you know you're going to get the bet. And we have the bet. The Podfather is here. Bill Simmons, what are you betting on this week 16? I will tell you. I thought I was getting a graphic on that, but I gave you the dramatic pause. I got to go to my text now. See, this is what happens when I multitask on a show, and it happens brilliantly. Sal, you ready for this?
It's a crazy 13-pointer, right?
Of course it is. Chicago plus 20. Your play, tease down the Miami, San Fran over to 31.
Smart.
Green Bay -1. Buffalo -1. Who screws it up?
I don't think anyone screws it up. I will say this, and I know where House is coming from. Maybe don't lean on the Lions, cold weather and everything, but this is the one unit. Like, all right, the Lions pass rush has been bad, but they're up against the Bears who can't protect their quarterback. Like Caleb Williams is up to set the record of David Carr's sack, right? So you might just be able to rush 2 and get to Caleb Williams, but God, plus 20 should be all right. He should be good with this 4 for 4.
I think Bears-Lions is your biggest concern, House.
Yeah.
Because if you get blowout potential with Chicago, the over from Miami and San Francisco, you shouldn't sweat. And there's no way in the world Buffalo or Green Bay are losing those games. Can't see.
I agree with all of it. I do think that Lions Bears is the one vulnerability, but the no David Montgomery to me really tips it in the direction of the Bears at least staying within 3 scores.
Fair enough. Oh, now we have a YouTube comment. This one comes from Austin. Raheem, I think I'm going to make your head spin. How do we feel about the Bills to win the first half and the game parlayed with the Packers to win the first half plus Sal's favorite money line? What Sal, you can't do the Steel special with anybody but the Steelers, right?
Well,
it's not
This is not a Steel special because they're winning both halves.
Right.
So it's out. There you go. So Austin, I appreciate the contribution to the show. You are welcome to join us on the Ringer Sunday pregame every week. But we are giving you a teaching lesson here.
Right.
As far as how you play the Steel special. Yeah. But Sal, I don't like the Steel special with anybody but the Steelers.
No,
it just
you can't
doesn't
call
work.
it a Steel. You don't call it a Steel special. It's like you can't call the high ankle sprain from Mahomes a high ankle sprain because he's not in a boot and he's running around like Steve Young. So it's ridiculous.
I think things got lost in translation. So he's basically saying first half on both the Bills, first half and full game on Bills and Packers. But Sal, he wants you to add your favorite money line pick.
Oh, he does. Oh,
yes.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Maybe that works.
Right.
Okay, Austin. Thank you. Sorry we got that confused. But what would it be, Sal?
All right. Well, now I have to add money. Well, you know what, Raheem? It's the Bucks. We're going to juice it up a little. Bucks over Cowboys.
I like it.
I thought you were going to take the Bengals.
Me too. I was
no, but he didn't want to go with too high a favorite. See, I see what you're doing there, Sal. You're just trying to enhance the value of this parlay. It's smart.
That's right. Exactly.
Well, yeah, I mean, if Sal likes the Bucks, it makes me like my best bet even better. So you see how hot Sal is right now. So yeah, go ahead and put that parlay in. I don't know what it pays. I haven't done the math on it, but Austin, if this wins, maybe we'll send you something.
That's right.
Well, we appreciate the contribution, and if you want to do the same, have some fun, interact with the wise guys, you can do that if you are watching on YouTube TV, following along on our YouTube stream, and all that good stuff. Okay, guys. We have done our family meal. We have done our rat lines. Let's get to the dogs. It's time to get barking. Man's best bet, week 16. Let's bark, baby. This is a very hotly contested competition. Sal has run away with wisest wager. But Joe House and yours truly, neck and neck, both in the black, trying to finish this off in a big way. House, I will give you the honors. I will give you the tee box. That's right. You could start it off. What is your man's best bet for week 16?
JJ, it's go big or go home time. We're taking the New York Giants on the money line
Whoa!
at the Atlanta Falcons plus 350. Look, this is incredible. This is all about variance, the range of possibilities. When you put a guy who couldn't even get 10 snaps in the preseason on the football field in the highest possible leverage situation for his team up against a team that has nothing to lose. Those players and that coach are not playing for draft position. They are playing to go win. They are auditioning for jobs. The New York Giants with Drew Lock, they're going to throw the effing football. Malik Neighbors is going to try and catch it. Cousin Sal, share with you were trying to get a number out earlier about this thing. Let's hear the number about rookies starting in week 16 or later.
I'll get it out fast because there's an absolute Grinch in the control room right now. But according to Action, with Penix getting his first start in week 16, he becomes just the 21st quarterback to do it in week 16 or later in his rookie year. Those QBs 5 and 15 in those games.
There we go.
Wow.
Joe House, you know I have a lot of Giant fans in my life. The Giants winning this game will be the Grinch stealing Christmas for a team that is in dire need of a quarterback. And I understand your anti-Falcons sentiment.
There's
They're
two
not any
quarterbacks
good.
out there.
They're vastly overrated. The Giants stink. I'll remind you one more time as you watch the football on Sunday. They stink. And if they go and win this game on Sunday, there will be a whole lot of big blue Christmases ruined throughout the tri-state area. Okay, Raheem, you kind of teased us for what man's best bet might be. It's time to fulfill the tease. What's it going to be?
We're going to go with the Chicago Bears plus 250 on the money line. They're not only going to cover this game. I think they win this game outright. I know the Bears have been terrible since Thomas Brown has taken over as a head coach. But you got to remember, this team has played 3 straight road games. And the biggest thing about this Chicago Bears team is that they are so much better at home than on the road. You're talking about a team that's 4-3 straight up at home and 0-7 on the road. And if you look from a spread perspective, they're 5-1 against the spread. So, and like, I look at this Bears team like this. It's just, I know they're struggling, but they're taking on a Lions team. House talked about this. They have 21 players on injured reserve. 21. And David Montgomery is out. So I know they have Jahmyr Gibbs, but that's going to hurt them. But then you look on the defensive side of the ball, Allen McNeil is out. Carlton Davis is out. They're still missing Aiden Hutchinson. At some point in time, it has to catch up with the team. And I believe that it's caught up with them. House already told you. They gave up 99 points in their last 3 games. And I think it finally hurts them on the road. You got cold weather, Jared Goff. I know you're going to tell me to shut my mouth soon, but give me the Bears plus 250.
The guys are coming out hot with man's best bet. My goodness, the Giants and the Bears. Oh, my. Sal, what are we thinking? Are we going insane or are we going with a little bit more of a standard dog?
I'm a little ashamed. I feel like I came to the party underdressed because I'm only going with a plus 128 here. And I think it's actually plus 120 now as I see Seattle over Minnesota. They didn't have a line on this for most of the week because they weren't sure about Geno Smith. Well, guess what? He's back. Kenneth Walker is back. Charbonnet is out, but I feel like this is as healthy as Seattle is going to get. And by the way, the Vikings, I've been wrong about them all year long. I thought they were going to have the year from hell. They're going to end up crushing their win projection by like 7 games. But here I am going against them again. Darnold just 2-7 straight up on short rest. So that's something to think about. And I feel like the Bears were in the game against the Vikings. So were the Cardinals. So were the Titans. So were the Jaguars. This should be a 1-score last possession game. So I like my chances with the home team, Seattle Seahawks there.
So I'm not going as extreme as House and Raheem, but I'm a little bit more exotic than you, Cousin Sal, with our last man's best bet. I'm taking the Tennessee Titans to win outright against the Indianapolis Colts. And I was with our pal Raheem Palmer in taking the Indianapolis Colts against the Denver Broncos a week ago. I'm still sick to my stomach. Jonathan Taylor fumbling the lateral that was taken for a pick 6 in one of the worst throws across the field that you're ever going to see. After you lose a game like that, I have to question what the motivation is going to be for Shane Steichen's group. You throw in the fact that Anthony Richardson stinks. He cannot complete a pass. He's basically completing 52% of his passes, which in the modern day NFL is an out-and-out abomination. And I'm getting the good fortune that, yes, I'm betting the lowly 2-13 ATS Tennessee Titans. We all know how bad they have been at covering numbers. Will Levis, mailboy, has gone to the bench. And in the spirit of the Christmas holiday, guys, they are turning to Rudolph. I mean, come on. It doesn't get better than that. I get Rudolph. I get the Titans. I get a cult team that I think is done for 2024. Let's rock and roll. I am taking the Tennessee Titans plus 166. I love it. See, that's somewhere in the middle. I'm not going as crazy as you, but I didn't go as conservative as Sal. I'm a moderate when it comes to man's best bet this week, you know?
Yeah, it was not an easy slate in terms of dogs. I came this close to taking the Carolina Panthers, and that's going to be my oh my god bet. But the Titans deserve some a look because of Mason Rudolph. I mean, the difference between Mason Rudolph and Levis is like the difference between Santa Claus and the Grinch. I also love Dreams play on the Bears. I mean, that really looks live to me because of Golf Outdoors and where the Bears are, the way the market is looking at the Bears. I don't think it matches up. So there's a lot of tough ones out there.
Nice mix of dogs for man's best bet. And moderates, not going to find a whole lot of those in Washington, D.C. in 2025. Sorry. I hate to be the guy to tell you so. Anyway, Sal, we go from my political commentary to your SGP, which features a play against, which I don't like, my man's best bet.
No, I want to hear your thoughts on tariffs and stuff like that. Why do
we can work on that. I will give you my dissertations and my policies and all of the stuff that I will do when I run for office in like 2055.
Enough of this football nonsense. You're not going to like the same game parlay though, JJ, because I'm going with the Colts. And by the way, the Rudolph thing is adorable. Did Roger Goodell get in the Titans' ear and say, hey, you have to start Rudolph the week leading up to Christmas? I don't know if they did. But one of the legs on my parlay is under 1.5 touchdown passes. He's not going to throw for 2. I like the Colts money line. This is probably a game you shouldn't have a single bet on, so I'm going to have 3. Colts money line. They're 4-0 in the division. And against that, like Hal said, a 2-12 against the spread Titans team, but I'm still going to go Colts to win this game. I get it. You don't trust Anthony Richardson. You shouldn't trust Mason Rudolph. And my third leg is Jonathan Taylor, more familiar with the home end zone, not going to have any perplexing non-contact fumbles at the goal line. He will score the first touchdown. He's pissed, and he's golden for that this week. Colts win. Taylor, first touchdown. Rudolph loses his reindeer game under 1.5 touchdown, pays plus 598.
Throwing in a first touchdown bet for an SGP. I think that's the first time we have seen that on the Ringer Sunday pregame in the last 2 years. I respect it, Sal. Getting a little exotic on a game that doesn't really scream
this
exotic.
Is Sal styling on us right now because he's been so hot that he's just trying to up the ante and play with a handicap at this point in time.
But you know what? I went 1-11 in the playoffs, and you guys got a good laugh of it last year. So expect more of the same in 2024.
we will see if there's going to be a market correction on that or if history like the Chiefs is just going to repeat itself. Okay, House, you mentioned the Bengals for your wisest wager. So you're kind of putting more onto the table. You're up in the ante. Your SGP features Cincinnati. Let's hear.
I literally can't put enough on Cincinnati. I'm taking the parlay that is my wisest wager, which is the Bengals covering 6.5 points and the Bengals scoring 28 points and just adding another couple legs to it. We love T. Higgins getting to 70 yards or more receiving. The Browns play man coverage at the second highest rate in the league. T. Higgins leads the Bengals in target percentage against man coverage. He's had 77 yards or more in 5 of the past 7 games, averaging over 81 yards on nearly 6 receptions during that stretch. And then we're just going to do Joe Burrow at 3 or more passing touchdowns. Joe Burrow is going for the triple crown of passing. He has 6 straight games of 3 or more touchdown passes, and he's hit this in 3 or 4 division games. And it's the same thing. Burrow loves to cook against this man coverage and single high safety. The Browns love giving up deep balls. Joe Burrow, 3 or more touchdowns. T. Higgins, 70 receiving yards. The Bengals to cover 6.5, and the Bengals to get to 28. I don't know.
I like it, House.
Let's cash it, baby.
I like it.
I like it too. Listen, the Browns with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a game Cincinnati absolutely has to have. Get as much Bengals as you can. Now, we go from a couple of SGPs to our OMG. I can't believe we're making this bet. And Raheem, you mentioned that Sal's been flexing on this show. Well, I think this is a flex now that is going to take it to another level. I actually am shell-shocked that you were making this bet. But you know what, Sal? When in Rome, Sunday Night Football. Let it all hang out. How outrageous is this bet that you're about to make?
You're talking to me? Oh, I thought you said Raheem.
I am talking to you. That's right.
No.
I am talking to you.
Listen to me. I'm going to break it down. This is not outrageous. And we've gone over it. Raheem, our Cowboys have nothing to play for. It's disgusting. I know FanDuel had a graphic saying they have a 0.1% chance of winning the Super Bowl this year, but that's just to make idiots like me excited. But here's what I'm excited about. They have a marvelous kicker, the Cowboys, Brandon Aubrey. 67-plus yard field goal this week is 30-1 odds. That's tonight. He could boot a ball from Jerry's World into El Paso. We've seen him do it. He had a 65-yarder earlier this year. He missed from 70 last week. It was kind of close. It's in the cards. I could see, in a weird way, Mike McCarthy thinking he's going to get an extension if he could just get us this Cowboys field goal record. But, Raheem, I want to ask you, even if it's not done this week, 30-1, if they leave it up as 30-1 every week, isn't he going to do this once in the next 2.5 years? I think those are good numbers.
He's definitely going to do it. I would love to see if they had a bet on FanDuel for a free kick because I think we're going to start seeing those more and more. So we need those odds up for that. I mean, hopefully it pays close to 30-1, but I really like this play.
I love that.
We saw the free kick on Thursday night with Dick and the kicker.
All my life I've been waiting for that. That was a thing of beauty for sure.
Sal, will you be making this bet now every week moving forward?
I think so. I think I have to. I think they're going to let him try it at some point. Break the record, Brandon Aubrey.
When in doubt, just keep rolling it back, and eventually you find a winner. Okay, House, we mentioned OMG. You teased OMG. What's it going to be?
Yeah, this is 1B in terms of my dog card. Carolina Panthers plus 188 home against Arizona. We're not really going out on too big a limb. I mean, honestly, the Giants to beat the Falcons is the true, oh my God, what are we doing here? But the Carolina Panthers have been playing good football for about 6 weeks now. They only have 3 wins, but the losses that they have were impressive. They lost to the Chiefs, they lost to the Buccaneers, they lost to the Eagles by a combined 12 points. Dallas came in and wreaked havoc on them, but that was Micah Parsons doing Micah Parsons stuff at the end of the year. Kyler Murray on the road. The Cardinals, kind of in a spot where their playoff chances are done. This isn't a huge play for me, but it's just a little one where I think it's fine to be speculative on the direction that the Panthers are headed.
Guys, I had a hard time with this because I gave out the Titans outright. I was like, what am I going to do here? I'm going up to Orchard Park, New York. I think the line has become a little too inflated with the Buffalo Bills. We all know how great Josh Allen has been. I understand he's going to win the MVP. You're giving me 14.5 points in a division game. I'm going to hold my nose and hope that Simmons guy, Drake May, in his first battle, Josh against quote-unquote baby Josh, is going to find a way to cover the number. So I know Gerard Mayo stinks, and the Patriots need a new coach. They should have Mike Vrabel on line 1. I will hold my nose and take Simmons, New England Patriots, just to cover 14.5 points. OMG. OMG indeed. All right, Raheem, last but not least.
Yeah, we're going to go with the Bengals plus 680 to make the postseason. Now, you need a number of things for this to actually happen, but it's amazing that the Bengals are still in the race. They have to win the last 3 games against the Browns, Broncos, and Steelers. The Broncos has to lose the last 2 games against the Bengals and Chiefs, very likely. And the Colts have to lose once, and the Dolphins has to lose once. That's what you need to happen in order to cash this bet. And look, it probably should pay more than this, but I don't care. I'm still making this wager. It's just something that I want to see. We all want to see Joe Cool Burrow in the postseason. So Bengals plus 680 to make the postseason.
So you're right. It's a very fun bet. Yes, you're right, Raheem. This is something I want to see. I almost think, though, Dream, this bet comes down to Steelers Chiefs on Christmas. What do I mean by that? You need Kansas City to have the motivation in week 18 to say, hey, we need the 1 seed. We're playing our guys. They go and beat the Steelers. They're the 1 seed no matter what. They can put the feet up and say, hey, we're enjoying. You're getting Carson Wentz. Now, I know you can make the argument backups can win the game. Stranger things have happened. But I don't know about you, Raheem. I'd rather the starters of the Kansas City Chiefs be out there. If I want to win and cash this bet, you almost are correlating that with a Steeler money line win on Wednesday. Just saying.
That's true. That's true, but I think the Broncos could probably lose to Carson Wentz. I think this Broncos team is so fraudulent, and they burnt us last week. They did not burn us this week, so yeah, it's just one of those bets that I'm just making for fun, and hopefully it cashes.
Well, I don't mind it. By the way, more importantly, you might want the Steelers to not need that Week 18 game against the Bengals, right? And if they're battling for the 6 or 7 seed, no one ever seems to care what they get there. You could be in good shape then.
Well, they're in the playoffs no matter what, though, Sal. That's the one thing with Pittsburgh. They're in.
Right.
So it's a matter of, hey, do they want to go and stick it to Cincinnati? And yes, they did beat Cincinnati in Cincinnati, a game that I had as a wisest wager a couple weeks ago. But we're on to the Rams. We're on to the Week 16 card. I'm not going to relive the weeks of misery with my wise wagers throughout the course of this year. Raheem, I don't want to be miserable anymore. Give me an SGP you really like for Sunday.
Okay, so we hit our same game parlay last week.
Yeah.
On the Arizona Cardinals. Let's go back to the well. We're going to do just run it back. I mean, play the greatest hits. We're going to go with the Cardinals -4.5 against the Carolina Panthers. I mean, when they've stepped down in competition, they've taken teams and they've dominated them. I mean, look at what they did against the Jets. Look at what they did against the Bears. Look what they did against New England last week. And look, we're going to go with James Conner over 85.5 rushing yards. We went with Rico Dotto last week. This Panthers team, they ranked 32nd in opponent adjusted yards per carry. And I mean, they're allowing almost 170 rushing yards per game. So James Conner to have a big day. Let's go with Trey McBride over 68.5 receiving yards. He leads the team in targets, receptions, everything but touchdowns. He's going over this in 8 out of 13 games in 5 straight. And then also let's go with the over 46.5. I think this Panthers defense isn't very good. And I think, this should probably be a quiet shootout. So that pays 7-1. That's my same game parlay. We hit it last week. Let's hit it again right before Christmas. Hopefully you guys can, buy some gifts for everybody.
Big fan of that one, Raheem, especially getting plus 723. Before I give you my SGP, we need some anytime touchdowns. Let's go around the horn. Cousin Sal, starting with you.
I'm taking DeAndre Swift there. Listen, the Bears probably not going to win this game, but, maybe they're not going to bring out the fat backup center to run the ball at the 1 yard line, or maybe he doesn't come out to not report and negate a touchdown. I think it's going to be DeAndre Swift down low. He's had 5 touchdowns. As far as red zone touches, his carries have increased to 19, but red zone touches, he has twice as many as Roschon Johnson, the second most on the team. Swifties, jump on board. DeAndre scoring today, plus 135.
Raheem, you're heading to East Rutherford, New Jersey, a frigid East Rutherford, New Jersey for an anytime touchdown.
Yeah, I'm going with Devontae Adams. It feels like Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, they figured things out in New York. We know they've played together for quite some time in Green Bay, but he scored a touchdown in 3 straight games, and he scored 4 touchdowns in the last 3 games, and I think that continues here against the Los Angeles Rams. So that's my anytime touchdown, Devontae Adams.
I'm going to Atlanta, where the Giants are lucky enough to be there as opposed to playing their game at MetLife Stadium. Bijan Robinson, I think, is going to run all over that Giants secondary. So I'm going to take Bijan Robinson to be the blankie for one Michael Penix. And I know we got to lay a number on this, but that's fine. We just want 4 winners for our anytime touchdown parlay. Bijan, little over 2-1 to score a touchdown on Sunday. House, last but not least, you're going with an old reliable.
Reliable. It's Jalen Hurts at -150 against the Washington Seawards. And we've seen this time and time again. The Eagles get inside the 5 yard line. The carries go to Hurts, not Saquon. And there is something going on with Saquon. Undisclosed injury. The Eagles are projecting as the healthiest team in the league, but we had a little A.J. Brown knee stuff, and something going on with Saquon where he wasn't on the field as much against the Steelers. No problem going ahead and laying a little juice with Hurts inside the 5 yard line, getting at least 1 this week.
Can I ask, why is this still -145? The guy has scored touchdowns. He has, I don't know, what is that, 14 rushing touchdowns? He has touchdowns rushing in 9 of his last 10 games, Raheem, and this is still -145. What more does anyone have to see with the tush push every week?
I think the only reason why it's this low is because the total was so low. And we know these anytime touchdowns are correlated with the total, but I agree with you. I mean, he's the greatest touchdown vulturer of all time. Yeah. So this should be like -200, -300 every week.
1,000%. I like these four. Parlay 'em, FanDuel Sportsbook. Maybe you have yourself a winner. Speaking of parlays, we have our final SGP for the show. Raheem, you're going to like this. I'm going with your Tampa Bay Dallas Cowboys game. I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to go and win the game. We're not getting cute here. Just give me Tampa Bay outright. Baker Mayfield, 2+ passing touchdowns. Feel good about that. You know who he's going to throw one to? His guy, Mike Evans. Last but not least, CeeDee Lamb. He still finds a way to put up receiving yards no matter who the quarterback may be. We'll take these four legs, little over 4-1. Give me Bucks, Mayfield, Evans anytime touchdown, CeeDee Lamb 70+ receiving yards. So that will be our completion of our 4 SGPs. And remember that FanDuel has bettors covered this NFL Sunday with a host of profit boost tokens to choose from, including the Great Double Your Winnings Boost. Make sure you opt in on FanDuel so you can apply the different boosts to your favorite bet throughout the day. You got the 25% SGP plus profit boost token for any game. And then, of course, you got 25% live on Monday Night Football. So we love that. All right, let's take a look, guys, at who's in and who's out for week number 16. Alvin Kamara not going to play for the New Orleans Saints. Cade Otton out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You see Tyreek Hill playing for the Miami Dolphins. Tony Pollard playing for the Tennessee Titans. I'll throw one more in there. Quinnen Williams, the outstanding Jet defensive lineman, out for the Jets come Sunday. Not ideal when you're trying to match up with Kyren Williams and the Los Angeles Rams. So we go from our who's in, who's out, to, I think, one of my favorite now new parts of the Ringer Sunday pregame. We get to see everybody's picks for every game on Sunday. Stinks. Let's see where we are aligned. Where is the family unity? I'm waiting on this graphic here, guys. There we go. With bated breath. Wow. You guys are all on the Jets? Sal, come on, man. You're betting Rodgers?
Listen, we haven't talked about the cold weather games. It's Buffalo, it's Cincinnati, it's Chicago, and where you are, JJ. I know you're inside, but if you step outside for a second, you're going to see that it's very chilly, and Matthew Stafford, not good in the cold. Hasn't done it, if you can look back. But listen, I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
I was going to say, I am stunned. See, Raheem and House, I expected maybe to go and zag here. Sal, I mean, never in a million years
I
takes
don't
the
like
Jets.
this spot.
Raheem, you're the lone wolf on the Vikings this week. Interesting.
Yeah, I think I might be a prisoner of the moment. I mean, look, if I hadn't saw what I saw last week, I probably would be on Seattle. But Geno Smith he got banged up, and I saw that defense get pushed around, and that was very concerning for me. And I just can't get that out of my head. So I was really high on Seattle. I just don't know what to do with them at this point in time.
And House, you know who you can't quit? The Cowboys. You're the only one.
I just think that they're solid, and it's just, a tiny bit too many points. I don't mind the idea of the Bucks. The Bucks have been so impressive. It's not a shade on the Bucks at all, but you got to give McCarthy credit. Like Dallas, the streak that they've been on since they beat Washington.
Oh my God,
it's been credible football. It's credible.
We got to go to commercial so I can throw up here.
Yes, we do. On that note, Cousin Sal, we have a lot more coming your way. Final half hour of the Ringer Sunday pregame. We'll exchange secret Santa gifts for the boys, a bet for each of us as we lead up to the Christmas holidays. Steven Ruiz still to come, and we'll figure out where we're aligned on those family bets. We'll see that Wise Guys graphic one more time. We're coming right back.
Who is the best candidate for the Nobody Believes in Us team in the playoffs? Because that Eagles team is a great example. That 2017, Wentz goes down, everyone writes them off. Oh, they're done, and then it's the force that has been kind of the most dominant playoff force year after year after year. Is it Detroit? Does Detroit have the best Nobody Believes in Us case?
Yeah, I feel like everyone's fleeing.
We don't even
bandwagon.
believe in them anymore.
Yeah, I think everyone's fleeing that bandwagon, and Dan Campbell's the perfect Nobody Believes in Us coach, and like Chris Spielman's in that building. He's the perfect Nobody Believes in Us guy. I feel like they'll feed off that, and that is your team. And then I think if there's another one of them, like the other one that you would say is the Houston Texans, who are going to easily win their division. They're going to play the Chiefs and the Ravens over the next 2 weeks, and they might win 2 of those games, one of those games, and no one's going to pick them. and everyone's going to say, oh, well, whatever.
The thing with them is they're no, fuck you. Nobody should believe in you guys, team. You guys are barely winning.
I saw you lose to the Jets on a Thursday night in person. No, it's your fault.
You can't even score 20 points. You can't block. I would say KC last year was a good example of this when they lost that Raiders game. And people are like, I'm out.
Done.
They're not going to do it again. It's done.
I'm out. Aiden O'Connell beat them. I'm out.
And I thought they used that to their advantage. Yeah, the
Vikings are a candidate, but like O'Connell doesn't have that like deal with him. Like I feel like you need a coach who's gonna really dig deep. Sirianni does that. Dan Campbell does that. Like I've heard stories of Sirianni like going really deep with film references and like showing movie clips. And I remember Dan Quinn, when he was back with Atlanta, would call me on a Saturday night just to bullshit before my Fox show. And I'd be like, give me something. And he's like, well, I showed a Sugar Shane Mosley fight last night because the situation was this. And I'm like, dude, like these guys, they go deep for like what can motivate these. And like, that's Campbell, that's Sirianni. Kevin O'Connell's more like, guys, we got this. We can do this one game at a time. Like there's none of that hate and none of that toxicity of like us against the world. It's more, I believe in you, which works also.
Welcome back to the final half hour of the Ringer Sunday pregame right here on YouTube TV as the boys get you ready for Week 16. 3 weeks to go in the regular season. We got you covered every which way. Cousin Sal, Joe House, Raheem Palmer, and John Jastremski. We'll have our buddy Stephen Ruiz join us in a little bit. We'll take a look once again at what our wise wagers were for this Sunday card. And yes, we'll be exchanging gifts. I'm looking forward to that over the next few minutes. But guys, let's go to our YouTube comments. This one comes from Thomas. And Sal, we love ourselves a good tease. House, I know you especially love a good tease. Jacksonville teasing them up. Seattle teasing them up. Thoughts on that, House, man?
Yeah, I'm into this one. The only thing that makes me shy is Seattle. I teased up last week, and they got their doors blown off, and they're up against another NFC North team with an explosive offense. I don't want deja vu, but I do think that the step up in class for Minnesota gives the Seattle team a chance here. Kenneth Walker's return is a big deal. Jacksonville and the Raiders, neither one of those teams should be favored getting more than the touchdown. So that's a perfect teaser leg there. This is a winning teaser.
Sal, can I entice you?
Oh man, listen, Seattle's my underdog pick, right? My dog. So of course I like it teased up to plus a touchdown, more than a touchdown, but. God, it's Christmas. Stay away from that Jacksonville Vegas game. For God's sakes, tease the Bengals. You're looking for a dance partner on your teaser? The Bengals, the Bucks, as Raheem has said, there's so many others out there. Why do you want to sit through that slop fest in Las Vegas?
You know, Raheem, there's some interesting ramifications of that Jag Radar game. I know it's awful. It's cringeworthy. It's two of the worst teams in the NFL. As far as Tankathon and as far as who may end up with the number 1 and the number 2 pick, that's a significant game for both of those teams, especially Vegas, who's looking for their next quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. But I want to speak on this teaser. I really like this teaser. This is a perfect Juan teaser. If any of you guys have read Stanford Juan, Sharp Sports Betting, came out like 2005 or so. This is a perfect textbook teaser. I mean, you look at the total. The totals on these games are 41.5 and 42. So those points are much more valuable. So I really, really, really like this teaser. Now, Mac Jones, the last time he played in this game's in Las Vegas, right?
That's
last
right.
time he played in Las Vegas, the Patriots actually had the lead in that game. And then I think that was that weird game where
that was that epic meltdown game 2 years ago. Yes, I remember.
So
well.
that fumble.
Teaser. Yep.
Yeah, so I think this is a revenge spot for Mac Jones. So I'm pretty sure he remembers that, and I think he's been playing well with the Jags as of lately. So we'll see what happens today. But I like this teaser.
Thomas, you got yourself an endorsement. I'm in. Jags, Seattle, get them over a touchdown. Let's rock and roll. So you want to leave a comment, you can feel free to do so on our YouTube stream, and we'll get to as many as we can throughout the course of an hour and a half. We haven't done this yet this year because we haven't hit the Christmas holiday. It's time to exchange some gifts. The wise guys are going to have a little fun. Let's do some Secret Santa. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. Well, you know what? I'm not getting it. So let's get right to it. I'm giving Raheem a gift right out of the gate. Raheem, this one is right for you. Oh, there it is. I mean, can you read that? You know,
JJ, here's what's going on. There are white elephant parties all over the country, and people are giving out bet slips as their gift. Instead of like a $20 value, they'll say, here's a $20 ticket paying 90 to 1 or whatever. And I love the idea. Normally, people give me like lottery tickets that I don't even have a chance of winning, but I love it. I am a full endorser of white elephant parlays.
Well, you know, Sal, for my wedding last year, I had a wedding guest give me a ticket on the Miami Dolphins to win the division at plus 300. Yeah. You want to talk about a cruel way to see wedding funds go right down the toilet. Week 18, Buffalo Bills, Will Levis the few weeks earlier on Monday Night Football. For a bet that at plus 300 felt like a stone cold lock all year. Good thing I grabbed that hedge on the Bills with the wedding fund, so I didn't get.
Well, that's more for the wife. That's more a gift for the ladies, right? For the bride, I would say, sitting through a Dolphin game, week 18.
Naturally, absolutely. Okay, Raheem, I'm giving you a gift right out of the gate. I think you're gonna like this one. My gift to you is a futures bet on the Kansas City Chiefs to go and win the Super Bowl. You're gonna get plus 550. I know you have gone down this road before, and maybe you'll get a better number at some point. But if they end up with the number 1 seed and they're favored in a bunch of these games, you may not. So I want to get ahead of this. I want you to get some value potentially. Raheem, plus 550. Merry Christmas. Enjoy the Kansas City Chiefs.
This is the
Super Bowl
best gift
ticket.
I'm going to get this season. Forget Ralph Lauren sweaters. Forget, chicken wings. This is the best gift that I'm probably ever going to receive. So thank you, JJ, and I appreciate you.
Okay, Raheem, who you giving a gift to?
House, I got a special gift for you. So we know you love the Washington Commanders, but even more than you love the Washington Commanders, you like to emotionally hedge. So we got you some emotional support. We're going to give you the Philadelphia Eagles minus 8.5 plus 210 on the adjusted spread. So when the Commanders go out there and they lose by 10 or more, you get paid off.
I love it. You know me so well, Dream. Right in I take it and put it right next to my heart and watch this game go down. Look at all that extra money I'm going to have to spend on my kid for Christmas because I haven't spent enough. That is magical. Thank you. I think it's my turn now. Is that right, JJ?
That is correct, Mr. House.
Oh, magnificent. The cousin Sal. My beautiful cousin. The feast of 7 fishes is upon us. This is a feast of fishes Christmas parlay. The only proper Italian American on the panel, so he knows where this is coming from. We're gonna do Dolphins receiving props all over the place. We got a nice 3-legger. It pays off up there. 3-1, 2 plus 260, 270. Jonnu Smith, Harry the Elf already endorsed this. Over 49.5 receiving yards. I don't have to make the case. Devin Achane, 4 or more receptions. He's averaging over 5 since Tua came back from his injury. He has both Jonnu Smith and Achane as his security blankets. Those guys get touches. Those guys get yards. And then the rookie, Malik Washington, stepping in place of Jalen Waddle. We're only asking him to go over 2.5 receptions. He had a really nice week last week, a little sneak peek. 5 passes on 6 targets against the Texans. 38 yards after the catch. Only 2.5 catches. This is a plus 260 at least, cousin Sal.
Wow.
Please enjoy.
I like it. Thank you. I think that's better than chicken wings. As long as we're ranking presents as they appear versus chicken wings, that's great, House. Thank you. I appreciate that. JJ, I was supposed to get you something, but I got so busy yesterday with taking the kids to Little League, and I had a wrestling tournament. So I'm sorry I wasn't able. No, I'm kidding you. By the way, this is going to be another emotional hedge for you, JJ. Not as bad as sitting through Dolphins to win the division last year, but here's what we're doing. And you don't even have to bet it. I put it in for you. 49ers to have 5 or more sacks this week, plus 700. It might have gone down a little bit, but JJ, I know you don't like this, but they had 7 sacks against the Bears 2 weeks ago. They had 6 against New England. Both of those quarterbacks are better than the Dolphins. I don't even know who they have there calling snaps there. Green Bay dumped Tua 5 times on Thanksgiving. This is doable, JJ. Come on, get excited. Santa's not the only one bringing a sack this year. San Francisco's front seven right behind him. Plus 700, you get your old lady a nice diamond tennis bracelet. Merry Christmas.
This is not a bad gift, Sal, considering the Miami Dolphins offensive line is absolutely abysmal.
There you
we
go.
don't know the status of Teron Armstead and Kendall Lamb. Plus 700 ticket. You know, you'd think you'd get me in a bad mood with an anti-Dolphin play, but I'll gladly take plus 700. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm putting it in. I'm actually putting it in. So this is a real. I don't know if everyone else is legit, but yours is.
I think we all should be doing the same and sharing the wealth. Sal, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, buddy. I will see you next week before I bon voyage to Paris.
Oh, Merry Christmas to my favorite ho and hoes. See you guys.
We say goodbye to our buddy cousin Sal, and we will welcome in Steven Ruiz in a matter of moments. But before we see Ruiz, give yourself the gift of NFL Sunday Ticket this season. And now it's only $49 for the rest of the year. Yep, only $49. Don't miss out on the biggest matchups in a race to the playoffs. Sign up now. Terms and embargoes apply. I promise you, Steven Ruiz, he is back. He joins us here on the Ringer Sunday pregame. Happy holidays, sir. How we doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing? We're almost at the end of the season. Those 2 games yesterday, I feel like we're at the finish line. And
we are at the finish line, Ruiz. Favorites are doing nothing but cover. I'm going to need the Rams to cooperate and continue that trend against the Jets later on today. So let's get right to it. We have our wise wagers for the show. We need your commentary. We need your takes. Let's take a look at what the boys bet for this particular Sunday with their wise wagers. Cousin Sal likes the over in the Miami-San Francisco game. House is going with a little parlay. Bengals over 28.5 points, taking them minus 6.5. Raheem has Tampa. I have the Rams. Ruiz, take it any which way you want. What do you think of those picks?
I like all of those picks. I really like the Rams. I think I would be pounding the Rams heavy at the end of this year. I think they're really coming on. They got healthy at midseason. I think McVay has figured some things out on the offensive end with the scheme to protect Matthew Stafford a little bit more. As long as they don't play in the rain and Matthew Stafford doesn't have to look like the late 30s quarterback he is, I think they're going to be pretty good. And I think they're going to win this division.
You know, that's the thing for me, Ruiz. A lot of people are looking at this Jet game and they're mentioning the frigid sub-zero temperatures that we have in the New York area. If I'm not mistaken, I saw Aaron Rodgers in the sub-zero stink up the joint against the Lions with the season on the line. He played San Francisco in the playoffs and was terrible in one of those frigid games. And I can look at Stafford. I'd be way more worried about Stafford in rain than I would be with the cold, right?
Yeah, I don't think the cold's going to bother him at all. And I don't think any wind would bother him at all. That's the reason why you draft a quarterback like Stafford first overall when the Lions did it, because he can play in any type of weather. And I think that's going to happen. Apparently he can't play in rain, but like the elements when it comes to cold and wind, the elements that you deal with football most often, I think he's fine. And like you said, Aaron Rodgers wasn't like, I know he played in Green Bay. They didn't score a touchdown in that 49ers playoff game. Like, he's had some stinkers, like you said, in the cold. Even some of his most memorable moments were in low-scoring games in the cold. That 4th down conversion against the Bears in the last game of the season. They had like 6 points or 8 points before that play. So I think you're on the right track there.
Hopefully the Rams will take care of business. We need this one going into the holiday season. It's now your turn, Ruiz. Interesting card of games. I don't know if you're going with a game that matters. I don't know if you're going with one of the garbage games, but hey, we need a winner. That's the bottom line. What are you looking at for Sunday?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to the bottom of the garbage pail for this game. I'm going Colts minus 3.5 against the Titans. And this has less to do with my confidence in the Colts and more to do with how little I think of this Titans team. And I feel like we've all forgotten how bad they are just because they've been out of sight, out of mind. This is a team that lost by 23 points to the Commanders. They couldn't cover against Mac Jones at home. They lost 10-6. And then they lost by 10 points in a game where Joe Burrow and the Bengals kind of gifted them 3 turnovers. I don't understand why the line's so low now that they're going to Indianapolis. I know Anthony Richardson is playing a terrible brand of football right now, but he can run. And we know that this team can run the football when he's back there. And the one thing the Titans have been able to do is stop opposing running games. But when it comes to stopping the passing game, I think they're going to hit on a couple of deep shots. I think Jonathan Taylor's going to go crazy. I think Anthony Richardson will have a decent game on the ground, and they'll win this game comfortably.
So I get your skepticism with the Titans. I went with the Titans as my underdog this week, Ruiz, and to me, it's just anti-Colts. I have to wonder, after what happened to them in Denver, where I bet them, and I felt great about the game. And as Jonathan Taylor is going in for a touchdown, I'm like, this is in the bank. This is easy. They're going to cover. They're going to win outright. I actually went and took care of business for about 15 seconds, picked up a package, ran back in, and I see Denver with the ball, and the score did not change. And I'm like flabbergasted by what happened. And what happened was one of the worst beats of the NFL season. Any concern about Indianapolis losing a game like that and basically mailing it in, or you think they'll be motivated?
I don't know what it is. Like, I think I agree with you. They were in control of that game. And then you went to the bathroom, and they kind of went to the bathroom on the field. But I kind of go the other way with it, where I don't think Jonathan Taylor's going to drop a touchdown at the 1 yard line. I don't think they're going to call the double pass that gets picked six. I don't think they're going to give up two big punt returns. And that was still a game they were very much in. And I don't think the Titans are going to be able to capitalize on those mistakes quite like the Broncos did, who are a playoff team, even if I'm not like totally confident in them. So yeah, I'm not too worried about what happened last week. And if anything, I think that's reason to kind of go the other way with it this week.
Fair enough. Okay, we'll run through the gauntlet here of the games. And we know you have fun with your quarterback rankings every single week. I think the last time we had you on, Bryce Young, it felt like he was beyond repair. It was benching time. It was the humiliation of what happened earlier in the season, combined with his rookie year being an out-and-out abomination. He's been better as of late. Carolina getting points against Arizona in this particular spot on Sunday. Where do we stand on Bryce Young? Do you believe in the sort of progress that he's made, or we shouldn't be getting nuts with this? Where do you stand on Young?
Yeah, he's definitely improved. He's improved since the last time we talked. He's improved beyond what I thought he would be able to prove on. I think he's showing more confidence, throwing from the pocket, throwing into tighter windows. But I don't know if it's been enough. And if you look at the stats, he's still the worst quarterback from that 23 class. And that's a class that includes Anthony Richardson. It includes Will Levis. And I like to use Richardson as like the counter example to Bryce, because Bryce was the undersized guy, the guy that doesn't typically go for first overall, whereas Anthony Richardson looks like a first-round pick. He runs fast. He's huge. He has the big arm. And I think that's kind of the problem with Young is you still look at him and you're like, I don't see the first-round prospect. Whereas with Anthony Richardson, he's been bad. But you could see why he was a first-round pick. He's kind of like Shaq, only if like the biggest part of playing center in the NBA was shooting free throws. That's what Anthony Richardson is to me, whereas I don't know what the comparison for Bryce Young is right now. He doesn't have a strong arm. He's not the fastest guy, even though he can create out of structure. He's not a big guy, so he's not going to work the pocket like the top quarterbacks in the NFL. He's accurate, but not like overly accurate, not like Joe Burrow. He's not like a computer like Joe Burrow. Like the pre-draft comp was Steph Curry, which never made sense because he doesn't have that three-point range that Curry had. And honestly, like looking back at it now, the comp should have been maybe Seth Curry, because that's what he is. He's like a player with an interesting skill set that may never be a top 10 quarterback, even if he hits.
No reason to debate any of that. I almost took the Panthers as my favorite underdog play of the day, but I didn't do it because of their inability to stop the run. Steven, I want to talk to you about this Patriots-Bills matchup. Somehow, all four of us grabbed the points with the Patriots. The line's 14.5. It must be the divisional part of it. I'm not sure why we did this, but this is undoubtedly, irrefutably, the year of Josh Allen. Josh Allen is the undeniable MVP. I heard some people over the weekend trying to make an argument. Well, if Lamar comes on over these games,
Stop it, House. Stop it.
I didn't say it. I'm not the one saying it. It's grotesque to me. But I want to hear your thoughts on Josh Allen in the context, Josh Allen, MVP of this 2024 season, in the context of baby Josh Allen, Drake May. Do you see that likeness there?
I do see the likeness, and I think we were kind of worried because he had too much Josh Allen in his game. I think like some of the pre-draft pundits who weren't very high on him, I had him as my second quarterback behind Caleb Williams. And I think we're seeing him kind of make that transformation that Josh Allen made in maybe year 2, year 3, where the accuracy isn't a problem. That was a concern before the draft. The footwork isn't a problem anymore. He's creating out of structure just like you would have wanted him to see when you watched him at North Carolina. So yeah, I think it's there. I think there are some subtle stylistic differences. I think he has a little more Justin Herbert in him than Josh Allen does, which isn't a bad thing by any means. If you combine those two guys or get something in the middle ground, I think you got something you're really you're working with. And his film just like checks out. I know the stats aren't like amazing right now. And that has to do with the supporting cast. We were worried that this supporting cast was going to ruin his career. I don't know if you remember the preseason discourse. It was like, you can't play him beyond this line. Like, he's going to turn into Tim Couch. He's going to turn into Ryan Leaf. And that didn't happen. If anything, he's flourished. Like, to me, he's the CJ Stroud of this year, Drake May. Like, he's the one who I can envision being a top 10 quarterback as soon as next year.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Drake May has been incredible. But so while we're on the topic of quarterbacks, I know you're a big Matthew Stafford guy. You took a flyer on Matthew Stafford to win MVP. But right now, there's a guy who's just playing out of his mind. And, you know, I took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to beat my beloved Dallas Cowboys today. Is Baker Mayfield the best gunslinger in the NFL right now?
Oh, that's a good question. Like, gunslinger, I feel like is low key an insult to quarterbacks, because we don't say like, oh, Josh Allen, is he the best gunslinger? When obviously, like, I think he fits into that mold. But I think he's in the discussion. I think Matthew Stafford is there. Maybe Matthew Stafford has a little more to his game where he's beating the gunslinger allegations. I think Geno Smith is another guy who's there, who's just going to throw it into a tight window no matter what. But I think right now in the season, yeah, Baker is the best one. He's the one throwing downfield. You saw the highlights last week against the Chargers, throwing them Mike Evans. But when you have a guy like Mike Evans, I think it makes that gunslinger approach a little easier. And to his credit, he's exploiting it and he's taking advantage of it. And he does make great throws downfield, and you have to give him that.
Baker Mayfield, so much fun to watch, and I'm heavily invested in Tampa Bay today against the Dallas Cowboys, just throwing that out there. Okay, Ruiz, in many ways, the Miami Dolphins are trying to mimic what San Francisco is as a franchise. Obviously, Mike McDaniel worked for Kyle Shanahan. They run a similar system. And then you have Brock Purdy and you have Tua, and it's like, in many ways, like the Spider-Man meme. It really is. These are two guys that have had big-time NFL success. They have been questioned, and they have been heavily scrutinized. Tua didn't have his tackles last week. They couldn't run the ball at all, and he was dreadful against the Texans. Brock Purdy, very up-and-down year. Sal likes points in this game. You think we're going to see points with Tua and Purdy in South Florida, or is this going to be a lower-scoring game?
I do think we're going to see points. And I think, like, the problem last week against Houston is the Texans now are the defense that the 49ers used to be. Like, they were the team that would dominate you on the defensive line, and then you'd have to pass because you fell behind in the game, and then they get interceptions. The 49ers don't have that talent on the defensive line anymore. And I think, like, that's the undersold thing about this regression we've seen this year. And over the last couple of years, especially with that defense, is they lost talent on the defensive line. They prioritized talent on the offensive end, lost talent on the defensive side, and we're seeing that kind of take its toll on both sides of the ball. So I do think Miami's going to fare better against this in this game. I don't think the 49ers have DeMeco Ryan scheming things up. They don't have Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson firing off the edge. They don't have these players in the secondary who just playing with their hair on fire. I think it is going to be a high-scoring game, and I think we're going to see both of those coaches kind of not get back to where they were a year ago when we were all praising them, but they might look a little healthier. Their mental health might look a little better going forward.
All right, let's get to the game that's happening in our backyard, Ruiz. This is the Eagles here in the nation's capital against my beloved C-Words. And I want to pick up on your observation a minute ago. Now, the Eagles seem to be firing on all cylinders, and they're like, kind of playing with their food. They showed us, people complained about the passing game. We were skeptical about the passing game, and then they just came out. Jalen Hurts immediately picks right up where he left off with A.J. Brown, and there's no issue whatsoever. I'm not that interested in talking about that Eagles offense. It's complete. If it's healthy, they are absolutely on a Super Bowl trajectory, in my humble opinion. But you observed that you thought that Drake May, to the exclusion of my beloved Jaden Daniels, might be the so-called CJ Stroud of this draft class. I have Daniels above May. Now, maybe that's just situational, and maybe it's my burgundy and gold colored glasses that I'm wearing.
No, like, he's definitely a good player. He's definitely I think he's going to go on to do great things. I just think he's a different stylistic quarterback than we saw from CJ Stroud. And he's definitely going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. And I think he should be the pick for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I just think looking down the road, I think Drake May's style of play has a longer shelf life, and he's less reliant on Cliff Kingsbury kind of keeping this thing going and staying as the offensive coordinator. You could get a job, honestly, with the performance he's put on this year. So I think there's a little more question marks with Jaden Daniels. And there's also, like, the body type thing. He's a skinnier player. You don't know how that's going to affect his health. So there's a lot of factors in there. But no, like I think all three of these guys that were drafted at the top, I would be excited about all of them. I know Caleb Williams has had his struggles, but I mean, they've put a lot on him. They put a lot on his plate. He's like calling the protections before the snap, changing this. I think you could look at all of their tape and all of their seasons and be like, this is a guy that we could build around.
Ruiz, on that Eagle note, are they the best team in the NFC with the cavalcade of injuries that the Lions have suffered over the last few weeks?
I'm still taking the Packers. I don't think we've seen the Packers A game yet. They've had a weird season with, Jordan Love was injured there for a little bit, and then he re-injured his lower leg. And we haven't seen their best, but we've seen their A game last week against the Seahawks. And I would put that up against anybody in the NFC. And I just think they match up well with the Eagles. I know that the Eagles beat them in that first game, but these are two totally different teams from what we saw there. And I think if you go back and watch that tape, it was probably a game that Green Bay should have won. Like the Philly offense was turning the ball over in their own territory. They weren't playing well, but Saquon had a crazy game. I would say those two are the best, and it's really flipping a coin at this point. I think the next couple of weeks are really going to tell us who should be the favorite, and which pains me to say because Detroit should be the favorite, but we know the injuries at a certain point have to matter.
I'm glad you brought up the Packers because they're taking on the Saints on Monday Night Football. It's snowing. It's supposed to be snowing on Monday. Do you think Jordan Love and the Packers can exploit this Saints pass defense?
Exploit? I don't know, because I think when you look at the Saints defense, they're still very good at defending the pass, but they're terrible at defending the run. And when you go up against the Packers team that loves to run the football and will run the football if there's an opportunity, I think we're going to see that. I think that's going to be the game plan. I do think it's going to be like a high yards per attempt type of game, maybe a low attempt game for Jordan Love, but a high yards per attempt game where he's just hitting on play action chunk plays because the Saints have no choice. They can't stop the run. They got to bring guys into the box, and he's going to be able to hit it over the top. It's kind of been the formula all season. I think Jordan Love is the type of guy who could carry an offense in theory, but he's also like one of these like ultra talented quarterbacks who also found himself in a great offense. Like you could say about Tua, you could say about Brock, but this guy actually has like probably top 10 talent. And I think if they are all firing on cylinders, like Matt LaFleur's calling the plays, the offensive line's playing well, Jordan Love is doing his thing, this is one of the best teams in the NFL. And I think they could compete for a Super Bowl, much less the NFC.
Considering I have a Packers Super Bowl future, I want to will that home, Ruiz. I like the sound of that. This music to my ears, my friend.
Can I get that? Can I get that for in the what? Are we doing the White Elephant still? Can I get that ticket?
The problem is I don't think you're getting as good a number, but I'll share. I'm in a Christmas spirit. I'll be more than happy to get you the current number.
I got a Matt Stafford MVP ticket that I can give you.
Thanks.
I'm not attached to.
Thanks. So now you're giving me the rotten pile. It was a good bet in theory. You took a shot at the beginning of the year. It didn't work out. Ruiz, are the Ravens in the AFC the biggest threat of crashing the inevitable Bills-Chiefs party?
I think they have to be considered just because of how they matched up with the Bills in that September game. Now, it was September, but when this offense is rolling, like I said about the Packers, I don't know how you stop it. We saw it yesterday when the Steelers decided to take away Lamar Jackson rather than Derrick Henry, and then Derrick Henry runs for 165. In the other game, they went the other way. They let Lamar carry it, and they sold out against Derrick Henry, and Lamar ran. And I know the rest of the game didn't work out for them in that first game, but we saw yesterday when Lamar's hitting his throws and Derrick Henry is running the ball well, this offense could score 40 points. Now I have concerns about the defense, but I have concerns about Buffalo's defense, and then I have concerns about the Chiefs offense. So all of these teams are flawed. It feels like for the first time in a couple of years where there isn't a clear Super Bowl favorite. And the reason is every team has a potential fatal flaw that can be exploited. And I think it honestly comes down to matchups.
We love that. I think it's going to make for a very entertaining January. Ruiz, I want you, before we say goodbye, to take a look at the grid. We pick every game against the spread. This has become a new tradition now where we have the full-fledged graphic that our wonderful team put together. The ones to identify, Ruiz, are the family plays. When we're all four aligned on a game, some would say it's buyer beware. Others would say, nah, you got to flex, have some confidence. The Bengals-Browns game, I love the way that line is skyrocketing. And Ruiz, selfishly, I really want Cincinnati to find their way into the playoffs. Can we make that happen? Nobody wants to watch Denver in the playoffs. Get me Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, please.
I threw this theory out on the Ringer NFL show a couple of weeks ago. We need a playoff committee. I know everyone was complaining about like Indiana getting in and SMU getting in. I don't even know what people are complaining about in college football anymore. But let's have a playoff committee. Do we need to see the Broncos and Bo Nix in the playoffs? We saw them on Thursday night.
Absolutely
we don't need that. It's a great story. It's a great story. But beyond that, who cares? Do we need an NFC West team in the playoffs, really? Unless it's like, can we combine all of the best players from the NFC West and give them a team? Because we're wasting our time.
I could watch the Rams, though, Ruiz. I could tolerate
true.
Stafford and McVay in a playoff game. I mean, they beat Buffalo a couple weeks ago. I could deal.
The committee would put them in because of the entertainment factor, though. That's what I'm saying. That we need a committee.
Hey,
it could be us.
I want in. That's it. If we get
I'm
Joe Burrow in the playoffs,
fine.
Raheem, I want in.
I'm totally fine with just throwing the Atlanta Falcons out of the postseason and putting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers there. I'm totally fine with that.
Well, hopefully Tampa Bay will cooperate because you are so right about this. I'd much rather see Baker Mayfield than that lowly Falcon team. But Ruiz, I'll say this. They're a lot more interesting to watch Sunday knowing it's going to be Penix and not Cousins at quarterback.
100%. It's the only reason I would tune in to watch this game. Otherwise, I would have tried to ignore the result as best I could.
And a whole lot of Giant fans that are in my life here in the New York area are rooting very, very hard against Joe House's wisest wager or dog of the week, whatever it is.
Dog, yeah.
Yeah, we got to make sure on this. The Bengals are your wise wager, but dog of the week where he really rolled the dice, took the Giants outright, Ruiz, against the Atlanta Falcons.
Outright.
House, for New York City, we don't want that coming home to fruition. We'd like to see a New York team get a quarterback. That's going to do it for this edition of the Ringer Sunday pregame. Thank you, Stephen Ruiz, for joining us. For Raheem Palmer, Joe House, John Jastremski signing off. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, one and all. Enjoy the games on Sunday.